It's about to go down with Marc and Cathey, a live coaching show about dropping ideas. Marc and Cathey coach and have conversations with brilliant idea creators who are reimagining the world through the expression of their words, thoughts, and actions.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to It's About to Go Down. I am Marc Williams.
I'm Cathey Armillas, and we have our friend Teresa Younkin with us today. Yes, our friend, because she's not only an awesome community member, an OG for the Speaker Skills Academy, but now, just recently, she's become a certified coach, and she crushes it with her skills drills. So we're happy to have her on for many reasons. Marc, I've known Teresa. We were trying to count how many decades, not years, not months, not days. We've known each other almost 3 decades. Definitely over 25, somewhere between 25 and 30 is how long we've known each other. And Teresa, as we know, she's a tech expert, and she has a really deep background. Anybody watching right now, you are not going to believe where we go. It's going deep, it's going wide, it's going far, it's going long, it's going everywhere. But she's a tech expert, especially in AI right now. And so we're going to cover some of that. And her idea today, get this, I love this. How will our identities change as a result of AI? That's the idea. That's what we all want to know. Teresa, welcome to our show. Let's get into it. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys both for having me. You know, I love you guys both to death, and am so excited to talk about this because it's not just about the technology, it's about our humanity, right? So I would be remiss to say that technology is going to solve all of our problems, because technology over the years has probably created more problems than solved problems for us as human beings, right? We've got ethical, moral things that we have to think about that our grandparents who loved the good old days, never had to grapple with, right? There's all kinds of stuff. But I propose that right now we're in the good old days. So let's talk about how.
That's interesting.
Right? Number one, right? I can go out, I can use AI to make me look as beautiful as I want. So when I had longer hair, all my beautiful AI photos, they look more like Mariah. When I cut all my hair off, right? When I went short like this, short and sassy, all of a sudden I started getting a Halle Berry feel to me in the AI generation. So, you know, a lot of people are taking AI to make themselves look more beautiful. But my big question is, are we going to make our insides as beautiful as our outsides with AI?
Oh,
that for me,
Come on, Teresa,
is what I need to think about, right? It's true. So I've been thinking a lot about identity. I know I've had conversations with you two about, this whole idea of identity and data and what does this really mean to all of us? And for me, I think, right, when you have an identity, you've had an identity since the moment you were born, whether your family gave it to you, and that usually results in nicknames like Stinky, Crybaby. I don't know why they're never good, but they're always like the bad things, right? Or you come out of the womb and you're like that, right? So I think about my daughter, my youngest daughter. That child came out and she was like, "It's a little chilly here. I need a palm oil and a scotch. Help me out." She came out of the womb just like that. She is my truth teller to no end, right? A truth teller. And that's her identity. It's always been that way. My identity is, I take favor in being a learner, like a lifelong learner. I love to learn, and I love to educate. 2 things I absolutely love, and to bring other people along in ways that are kind of surprising. So Marc, what's your identity?
Well, where do we start? No, I'll just say, listen, at the end of the day, and I think my sister Cathey says this all the time, there's just this positive, optimistic part of my identity. No matter what's going on, I'm going to find a way to uplift the situation. Even when I do a devil's advocate, on an argument, it's only because I just want to bring the world together and put us all in a sweet spot. So that's my identity.
Yeah. Cathey, how about you?
That is 100% Marc. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about it when Marc was talking. I'm like, I'm competitive but kind, and competitive comes first because I think when people meet me sometimes, I can be very intimidating. It always happens to me in the sports world. People are like, "Ooh," and then they meet me and they're like, "Oh, well, that's pleasant, actually." And if you meet me in the other spaces, you might be shocked. You might be like, "Oh, she's kind," and then you see me play sports and you go, "Oh," but competitive.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, our identities are something that I know that we carry as individuals, and then we get right identity from our families. If we go way back, the first people you ever knew were your family. You get an identity there. And then once your family's there, then you kind of move out a little bit and then you have an identity within your community. And back in the day, right, your community was really your culture, the people who are around you, right? So every major city you go to, right, there's a Chinatown, a Little Italy. You go to Chicago, my favorite place, and right, Little Lithuania, Little Russia, Little Poland, Little Puerto Rico, which has the best mofongo I've had outside of New York, just saying, like these are all these communities. And this is what we found, right? We found people who are like us. And then we moved into the Industrial Revolution, mobile. And so we started to move different places. And then what identified us? We moved because of our jobs. Then our jobs were our identities, right? So I'm a teacher, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor. I mean, right? What's the first thing you ask when you go to a networking event?
What do you do?
Right? So, those are like really interesting concepts when you start to think about that. Now think about how AI is starting to change our jobs. What's that going to look like? What are we going to do as humans? Right? As the technology starts to evolve, are we going to become more individualistic? Are we going to become more community oriented? Not real sure, right? We're right in the middle of this. So we're here at a crux. And now we've got the digital revolution. And this is where we went from having a community that was super colorful, right? If you think about any family gathering that you've been to, right? And 23andMe, I think, was probably a gift for a lot of people, probably a surprise for a lot of people. I know my husband found his birth mother and birth father during COVID. So it's just a real interesting way. And think about the commercials for 23andMe, I think it was, or Ancestry, the one where there was like, we grew up in the Scottish family. We've always been Scottish, blah, 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 right? And then come to find out they're not. They were like German.
We better stop using the accent. We're not Scottish at all. Oh, that's funny.
So, you're thinking about these things and now we've got all this digital data that's flying around. And I know just from personal experience, the impact that having to check a box about something has had on my own life. So I was widowed very young. I had a husband who at 31 was diagnosed with brain cancer. And we never really checked a box, right? How many cancer patients walk in with a 14-month-old? Not a lot. And how many patients are sitting? I'll never forget the night that he was diagnosed. We sat in an emergency room because he looked healthy. He could hold a conversation. He could do all the things. And he was probably the sickest person in there, in that emergency room. So when we got there, right, he didn't check the box that says, I'm deathly ill, until he went and he got the MRI. And that was very, still to this day, it shakes me just because of the fact that it's just so mind altering. And it's just, whoever thinks that their life's going to turn out that way, nobody. So, we find out that he'd had brain cancer. And then he started to check certain boxes. And then he was trying to get him to be disabled. People would be like, oh, can he walk? Yeah. Does he do this? Yes. Do his seizures look like him falling on the ground? No. Well, then he's not disabled, because he didn't present the way that we should. So these boxes are like black and white, and we're making decisions. And I work in healthcare, and a lot of healthcare is driven by these black and white decisions, like boxes that you're checking off. And the more that we've incorporated technology into our healthcare, the more cookbook it seems it's become. Because we don't have relationships with the other person. They're busy entering data into the boxes, right? And you're telling your story. And how many times have you gone to the doctor to tell a story? And you're like, and then this happened, and then that happened, and they're trying to hurry you along because they've got 15 minutes because all they need to do is enter the information on the box and then get you out, right? So I see Mark over there, been there, done that. And right. And I'll harken back to the good old days because, there used to be a time where you could sit down and talk to somebody like Marcus Welby, right? Like you sat down, your doctor held your hand, you guys had a conversation, you knew about his kids, he knew about your dog, all that stuff. And we're not there anymore. And I personally think it's because we've turned to digitizing ourselves. And we digitize ourselves even in our social media communities, right? Like this is the quippy person I love to listen to, or this person's always dropping a great knowledge nugget, or this person's doing this. And social media has taken us on this really interesting path that we're starting to lose a little bit of who we are. And then we get a rise of like a new technology. Let's say we've got like TikToks and Reels and these like really raw things. Do you remember like when they first come out, everybody was just kind of raw. Like I'd get on and just talk about anything. I'm walking around the neighborhood. I'm talking about my neighbors, talking about the grass, and everybody felt that community, and that's how it's built. But as time goes on, right? And we start to become more digitized, the less personal, authentic that we are.
Yeah. And the more we get I don't know if this is a word,
algorithmized.
Thank you. I'm like, there's probably a word. I'm making up one, but there's probably
I got to write that one down.
Algorithmized. That makes sense. It's almost like on some of those things too, we've traded the convenience. Like we take inconvenience and traded it for the connection. And so, it feels like it might be more convenient to take the digital stuff, but in the end, there's a lot of payoff on that. I just really quick, Teresa, you made me think of something that I would love to expand just a little bit on what you said, because I have a friend who's Taiwanese born, but was adopted. And his stepfather is Colombian. And so he was raised in a Colombian family, right? Like all of the things with Colombian food. He can speak Spanish. Like if you just heard him, you'd be like, you're Taiwanese? Wait, it's a break, right? And he was like, oh, it's so hard because I feel like I don't fit any boxes. Colombians look at me like, you're not Colombian. You look Taiwanese, you look Asian, and then Asian people are like, what? But he totally identifies with being both because one of them, he is by birth and the other one, he is by culture or by what he was raised. So those things are hard, right?
Yeah. I understand that because my mom looks like Cathey, right? My mom looks like Cathey. But when she opens up her mouth, there's a Jamaican pidgin accent that comes out of her mouth, number one. And then she speaks fluent Spanish because she was born in Panama, in a Spanish-speaking country, but her people are from the West Indies.
Yeah.
So like that movie, I don't know if you guys watched that Hulu series, Black Cake. Like, oh my gosh. So there's a tradition in the West Indian culture that you make this cake every Christmas. So I have my fruit starter is more than 20 years old. where you grind up your fruit every year and we add wine and we add rum to it and it sits, and then we bake Christmas cake every year and then that gets soaked in liquor. It is delicious. But there was a whole series on Hulu about black cake and that whole culture. And like I'm watching it going, oh yeah, like that's how my grandmother spoke to me. These are the things that we did. And I think in today's society, we have, so I was working on a project for the government, and they were collecting race and ethnicity data across all of the agencies. Come to find out, they collected in the last census, I think it was in the 2020 census, they collected 90,000 different races and ethnicities.
What?
90,000.
Wow.
And you're thinking, so why is that?
Yeah, my brain's like, I'm thinking about how many countries there are. Like my brain is trying to math that.
Trying to math that. Good.
Yeah, trying to math that math.
Trying to math that math. I got to tell you, like growing up in the military, for me, that was normal, right? Because everybody that I grew up with, you didn't know whose mom came from where. You didn't know whose dad looked like what. We were all like the United Colors of Benetton in the military. You just don't know. It's a crapshoot. You don't know what you're going to get. People are beautiful. So many colors. It's lovely. And nobody cares, right? Unless, right? My friend over here, his mom's Korean, so I know I'm going there for kimchi. And my Vietnamese friend, his mom is making pho. So you got to decide, I want kimchi or pho tonight. I don't know, but I'm going, right? Like that's the beauty of all of this mixture and all this color that we have in our lives. It's that our communities, right? Even in the military, the community was to be mixed. You didn't have, like when my parents first got married and came to this country, even though my mom was Spanish speaking and she looked like Cathey, back in the 60s, when you had an interracial marriage, they didn't know where to put the soldiers, right? They had a black section, they had a white section, and then they had a tiny little section. And my mom, bless her soul, came here from Panama to Kentucky in the deep South in the early 60s. So, so there's private housing for mixed race marriages. And my mom said, and I'll never forget this because it cracked me up. She said, these women used to come to the house and they would talk to me. And she said, I didn't know what they were saying to me. And it's because my mom looked German. All the German wives would come over and talk to her. She had no idea because she's not German.
Teresa, are you saying I look German? Is that what you're saying?
Right?
Oh, wow.
It's crazy. And like now things become more and more and more mixed as we're going along. And so you can see how we get to this 90,000 different races and ethnicities. And it's a beautiful thing, I think, in my own life.
It's interesting. I've got this image in my mind. As soon as you said 90, I'm still trying to wrap my head around 90,000 different races and ethnicities. And I'm thinking about how you talked about checking the boxes. And my brain went into math class. When they have those, you're trying to figure out the area and the perimeter, and then they add all of these like boxes, and it's like 13 different boxes. And I'm like, my brain would explode if I turned the page and there were 90,000 boxes.
Little boxes.
I don't even know if I want to count. It's just one big box. I wonder how the knowledge of knowing that there are all of these different identities, like how does that shape the world's perspective? Because sometimes I think, like you said, Teresa, the world's been seeing black and white and maybe some shades of the colors of the rainbow, right? But when you break it down to more identities than the brain can actually even comprehend.
No, then crayon colors, even the 64 box.
Wow, I'm just thinking of that image. I can see that image. I just wonder what that would do, just that visual. Like Cathey, when you heard 90,000 race and ethnicities, and you think about 90,000 boxes to check, where does that take your brain?
Overwhelmed for a second. I was like, did she say that wrong? Did I hear 90,000? Did I hear 90,000?
Right.
90 or 90,000? What did I hear? No, it's a
Right.
lot.
Yeah, but right, for me, this is where AI comes in, right? Because it can process that 90,000 and maybe make it more manageable for something for us to comprehend.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I think it's a great thing. In my mind, the first thing I thought was, oh, good, get rid of the boxes.
Yeah, right.
Like, we don't need all
Do we need to have the boxes?
Yeah, do we need to have the boxes? Like, why? Why can't,
Yeah.
what is, and I think people get caught up on some of the boxes, right? I mean, there's a lot
Yeah.
of things that people will get caught up on
Yeah.
that make it,
I think when we start to think about moving from a box concept, because I think that that's what's happening, we are moving from this to something that looks like this.
yeah, yeah. I
And
like
it's
that.
very, very different.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to start thinking that way. We're going to have to stop thinking linear, right? And thinking more abstract because AI gives us the possibility to think abstract,
Mm.
right?
Yeah,
AI has now moved into our to a thought partner.
yeah.
Maybe you start using AI to challenge some of the beliefs that you had or that you were given with your identity,
Mm.
right? Mark's brain's over there.
I know. His head is about to like lift up and then like fireworks and smoke's gonna come out
I'm just
out of
so
his
inspired
ears.
by the visuals. Like I love my wordsmithing and everything like that. But you said moving from this box thing, and then you did like to this thing, right? And it had me thinking like people used to think the world was flat, then it was round, then it was box shaped, and now it's just a squiggly line. Oh man. I just love that concept. Teresa, I don't know the many different boxes, or shall I call them stages, that you were going to be on. But I just love the idea of people seeing that visual. We're so used to seeing the box that's checked off.
Yeah.
But to see the squiggly lines, I don't even know where the hell to go with the squiggly lines. So you know what? Maybe I stopped thinking so much about where everybody is on the line and just knowing like it's just one, I don't want to call it one big mess. It's just one big existence.
Like that.
It's one big journey.
Yeah.
And you can be anywhere on that line at any point in time and not locked in.
Mark.
Because you just dropped it again. The thought that at any point in time, you can be anywhere on that line, right? And
Yeah.
then you think about how, I love how you started off too, right? Like we're born with this identity. Then family shapes a part of that identity. Community shapes a part of that identity. Finding out that somebody lives on the other side of the planet, like Cathey. Well, now you live on the other side of the planet too, Teresa, right? And then it's like, wait,
Sometimes.
sometimes, right? And then it's like, wait, and then there's technology that's, wow. I just love the evolution of identity you're talking about and how all of these different factors start to shape it. And now it's
Yeah.
like, what is it shaping us into?
So, right. We talked, Cathey, you were going to say something.
No, go finish with this because I have another thing to ask you after. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. So, right. So we've talked about your job being your identity and what will this look like for you? And I think that we're going to come to our crisis point, inflection point, where we're all going to have to take a good hard look at this because jobs will change, right? Because think about this. If you do well in your job, right, Mark, administration, If you're doing well and you're achieving the goal, they don't say, you're doing a great job, take off at noon. They're like, find another project and do more. Right? So it's not like it's going to free us up. It's going to allow us to be more creative in what we can do. Right? And bring us to a different point. And so we're going to have to stop thinking outside of the box, and we're going to have to erase that box totally, because the world is open to us right now when we're using AI. So as I think about, what does my job look like? What does this look like, right? Our identity is something that we've always held on to. And for so long, it's been about the job. But when you don't have that, people are going to start searching for a more meaningful place to go. When you're not identified by that, they're going to start looking to say, who am I? What am I in relation to all of this? Because I may not have what I've always defined myself as. And that's going to be a new evolution. Yeah.
May not have the same focal point, right? I totally get that. It went from like families, community to jobs.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, that's really interesting. I hope where I'm hoping it goes is that people start to think about how they can like enjoy themselves more and live life better and get back to like sharing life again. Like, I think that would be really nice if we could get to that place. The thing I wanted to say though, Teresa, we're going to go into like TED mode for a second, because I know that you're going to give a TED talk on this. It's the day is coming. And so just thinking about the next point, you bring up this great point, and it's a good idea of like, how will our identities change? And that's a really good question. And so tell me, if you were giving this as a TED talk tomorrow, like what are some things you would pose in this TED talk to say, it's changing like this, and this is what we should do, like problem, solution, outcome. What should we do with it?
Yeah. I think that as we start to change, we're going to go back to finding our communities again. I think COVID was a precursor to this. COVID was our dress rehearsal for what's happening now with AI. People are going to find more communities. Think about it. I could play chess. I could play chess with AI all day, every day, and get my butt whooped every single time. But I'll go find Cathey to go sit on a park bench with and make a human connection with her and play chess.
And then you'll kick my butt because I'm not that great.
But right, like we're at that point where I think that if we start to elevate our thinking about AI from it just being a tool to being an enhancement and to help us to solve the problems that we need to have solved, that's going to open the door for us to start being more innovative, finding ways to connect with other people and be humane and be more human focused. And lastly, I think that once we start doing that, I think we're going to start inspiring one another to be better and getting back. And that's why I always say, maybe the good old days are today.
Like right now, you're living the good old days.
Right now.
Okay, one more little bridge, Mark, and then I know your brain's got something cooking in there. I can see it. I love that you gave us this and this. What's the in between? Like, if somebody were listening, what can they do to get themselves there faster? Like, how can they, since we are in this moment, like what are the best things that we need to evaluate with ourselves right now?
I think that we have to think, what would I do from an ethical and moral perspective? Technology is not good or bad. It's what people do with technology that makes it good or bad. So at this point in time, I truly think that one of the things is to learn about it, get out there, experiment with it, try it. We decided when we bought our house that I'm not a decorator. I'm terrible. That's why this is all blurred out. This is not beautiful. I can slap two things up on a wall and go about my business. So we were trying to furnish a new family room, and I found a whole bunch of things that I really liked, but I didn't know how to put them together. So I loaded it all up in AI and I said, you know, do these things even go together? Can we do these things? But I want to make me a better me, and I want to make my surroundings better surroundings. So
Mm.
start with tiny little experiments of your own.
Mm.
If you're wrestling with something, use AI as a thought partner. If you're trying to get healthy, one thing that I did, I said, you know what? I know that my labs came in and it was this, and this is what I'd like to do. This is my goal. I don't like I don't like mayonnaise, so whatever you give me, please don't
You and
put that in
me.
there.
Mark, I found
Right.
somebody that hates mayonnaise more than me. She can't even have it. Jim can't have it in the house. Like that's
No, that was part of the marriage contract.
marriage contract. Yep. Sorry,
Marriage
continue.
contract.
I
Yeah.
remember.
So, I mean, right? Like, what are the things that are going to make us better? Like, so I put everything in there and I have a plan for myself. All the food that I love to eat. Like, it came back with recipes. I was like, yeah, I don't want to do this. On Wednesdays, I go to Mission Barbecue. I do this, I do that. But I think just
Mm.
using it and not being afraid of the technology and just using it and seeing how it can improve your life. And even if you think this is the one time where there are no stupid questions, you can
Yeah.
ask it anything and it does not have an opinion
It won't judge you.
about what you asked,
Answer. It'll just answer. That's true.
right?
So
So we
Mm.
don't have to be afraid anymore sometimes when you're having thoughts and you're thinking, what can I do? Just try it. I think that's the first step. The second step, if you want to be more efficient in what you want to do, ask it. Say, these are my circumstances. How can I be better at? Fill in the blank.
mm, I like that
Yeah.
too.
I've done
Therapy.
I've done therapy with I don't tell my real therapist. She might be mad at me.
Right. But
Listen,
sometimes you just need somebody to bring you back to zero.
listen, I was at a conference where the question that people were being asked is, do you have an AI coach?
Mm.
And it was like,
Mhm.
when was that ever going to be a question? So for anybody who's nervous about having an AI coach, AI mentor, AI therapist, AI teacher, like that's probably going to be something that's going to come up, right? Um, I love that you talked about all of this, and it brings a question to mind. I got to tell you, I did write in my notes from AI to AWE, because I was like, oh wow, just bringing us
Like,
Mm.
together. Um, but here is a question that I
I
have.
like that. I'm slow.
How will AI change your identity? And what I'm curious about, Teresa, is along the lines of what Cathey's asking about, like this TED Talk one day. What is the crisis that is going on in humanity right now that makes it necessary for us to even ask that question?
mm, I think the crisis right now is the fact that we have become such a summary society
Mm.
that we're only focused on ourselves and to get the quickest answer necessary. That it's not even about checking a box mark. No, I think that we can use technology to help us move from that crisis and not to check a box, but to fill that box in with any color you want. That's that's where we are. And right now, we have a lot of people who are checking so many boxes that they've lost the color in their lives.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Dropping jewels, Teresa.
Yeah, no kidding.
Sure.
We are checking so many boxes that we are losing the color in our lives.
Mm.
Yeah.
In the
Uh,
summary society like that. Oh, that hurt. But like, because I was like, are you talking right to me, Teresa? And I know it's everybody, but like, you
Right?
know, what? I saw somebody post on LinkedIn and I was like, this is a brilliant idea. I'm going to say this out loud. I'm embarrassed. They were like, you can ask it this question, and it was basically to give you a book report for a book that you would want to read. And you could ask it to be as detailed as you want it to, I'm sure, right? And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I read 10 books that day. Like I read I read 10 books that day. I thought that was such a good idea. And now I'm like feeling the shame of like there's some things that it's good for, and then you're also depriving yourself of actually picking up that book and getting, you know, really delving into it and really taking up the mind space and not going, oh, great, I just got a PhD in this one subject in like
Yeah.
an hour kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, Cathey, like think about when we were young moms, and I'll never forget this one time. It was you and me, and there was the neighbor on the corner of my cul-de-sac,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a woman lived across the street from you. And we were all sitting there, and we all had kids, and we were all trying to figure out what this mom thing was supposed to be, because none of us had a clue. And that conversation has stuck with me all these years, Cathey,
Mm,
of just the four of us trying to figure stuff out.
mm,
And the beauty of it is that in that moment, I remember it was dark and we were sitting there and we could hear the kids playing. It was just like yesterday.
mm, mm.
But had it been today, I think we would have all been locked up in our houses and
Yeah.
texting each other in a group chat.
Oh, oh,
And we would have lived in the summary society. And
oh.
Cathey, I don't even know if you and I would be here today talking.
That's true.
That's the beauty
You would have lived one
of
whole
the
street behind me and I wouldn't have known who you were.
no, right?
Yeah.
Just in the neighborhood group chat.
Yeah.
But we'd have never had that connection or the depth of a relationship
Mm.
because we would have relegated it to ones and zeros and boxes on a screen.
So maybe you were going down this list, Teresa, which was awesome. I love the try, the ask. And maybe number three is like intentionally make connections, right?
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. Well,
So
actually, keep it with the one word, try, ask, connect. Maybe try.
yeah.
And
Try
not
asking.
connect to your internet or to your devices, to people.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm. I wonder how much do you think has become invisible to us? Just meaning, like you reminded me of this point in time that was so long ago, and then it hit me, and I remember all of it, and it's like somehow we're here, and I don't. It's almost like I blacked out, and I don't know how I got here, kind of thing. You know,
Right.
it's like things slowly evolve, and then I think there was somebody famous that once said, like, I think it was Jim Rohn actually, who would said, be careful your little movements in life because you might look back and see that you're like really far from where you started out, and it's just like little tiny shifts and movements. I just feel like somewhere along the line we've accepted defaults, we've accepted things and then not chose to ask questions or dive in or intentionally do the opposite of what tech
Yeah.
is forcing us to do. I don't know, just my
I mean,
thoughts.
when I think about Connect, Cathey, I had a professor uh, when I was in seminary, and I had lost my husband, he had lost his wife, and he was 50 years older than I was, but we were both grieving at the same time this loss. And I remember taking long walks with him, like down these tree-lined streets that used to be horse paths in Virginia. And we talked a lot about losing the other half of your memories.
Mm. Mm.
Even though we spend our world taking pictures in this, right? At all times, I've stopped. I don't know. I don't have that many pictures anymore because I'm trying to be more intentional about being present because I want to be able to share the other half of my memories with somebody else who remembers the other half of the memory. And I'm not forgotten because I'm here and not here.
Mm, mm.
You know, this is so powerful for me because I think the oxymoron here is that as we get introduced to more technology, which seems to be taking us away from our humanity, it feels like the deeper we get into this technology, the more we are reminded how much more human we need to be.
Yeah.
And so I like that when you said the good old days, that is, right? Like when I use AI and I talk to chat, like I am reminded of, ooh, but let's not get lost here, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like, all right. And I love what you just said. I could take 1,000,001 pictures, but the 1,000,001 memories are what really connect us a whole lot more. I may not even take out my phone and look at those pictures, but I can sit down at the table and laugh about memories. So I like that this is actually pushing us more. It's almost like use it, and then
Yeah.
use it to start figuring out who you are. I love that at the beginning you asked Cathey and I for our identities.
Mhm.
It actually even made me think that if I were to go in a chat, what would my chat say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
We
don't
should
know.
we should do it as we should do it as a game. We should all pull out our phones and ask chat really quick. We should.
Have you seen the little play things that they're making now? Like it's making you a like almost like a little Barbie.
An action
Yeah,
figure or
like
something. Yeah,
an
yeah,
action
yeah.
figure of yourself.
Yeah.
And all the things about you like get pushed, get
Get
blister
put in
packed into
there.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was on a Zoom call and I I didn't even until you just said it. I was like, why are they putting that thing up there of some doll that they probably saw in some toy store? Like, what's the significance? Now I get it.
Yeah. All right. I just asked my chat GBT.
Right.
Did you?
Oh my God. First thing it told me, you're Cathey Armillas. Thank you. Appreciate that. Literally, it literally says like, you're Cathey Armillas. Okay.
Oh my
You run
God.
Speaker
Duh.
Skills Academy, a community for practicing speaking skills through creative skills drills. You're a TED and speaker coach. You're a big drilling over feedback and everyone can be great at speaking fan. I must say that a million times and it's like, um, you co-host a web show called It's About to Go Down with Marc and Cathey. You're all about inclusivity, creativity, and doing over telling. Wow, it's crazy the things that it did pull from stuff. You've got a deep love for storytelling. There's only two more. Your coaching style is super authentic, expressive, and fun. Like a parent giving real talk advice. I don't know if parents giving real talk advice is expressive and fun, but okay. Um, you're creative as heck and want everything to feel fresh, non-cliche, and engaging. Aw. And then
Hmm.
last thing that I'm not going to share online, it shared the therapy stuff I was talking
Oh.
to it about. Oh, it's like on a personal note, you're grieving about this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
All right,
Oh,
who's up
good to
next? Who
know.
did it? Did you both do it?
I did.
All right,
I
Teresa.
I turned mine into like a branding statement.
Oh, that's a good idea. I
My
just said, what are
visual
my
identity and
identities?
brand statement. So my name,
Ooh, I
Teresa
like
Younkin,
that.
my tagline, empowering healthcare with AI equity and impact. My
Hmm.
visual brand personality, bold like a keynote speaker, warm like a coach, strategic like a CEO, innovative like an AI builder, grounded in health equity and real world applications. Yes, I like to walk my talk. This is
Wow.
my one liner. I help healthcare leaders and women in tech harness AI and interoperability to build impactful, equitable solutions without the need to be a data scientist, right?
Hmm.
Using AI. So I love that.
I love that
I
too.
love
I like that
this.
you asked it that way. That was really cool.
Wait,
Yeah.
now, did you just say what is my identity?
Brand identity.
Or what is my brand identity?
Oh,
Yeah, I
first
just
I
said, what
said,
are my identities?
oh, I said, who am I? What is my identity? as you know me, because I use it so much, like it knows me. So I went back to find all this stuff. So it says dynamic purpose-driven health informaticist, AI strategist, thought leader in healthcare tech, what I focus on, CEO of an AI wellness-driven app, creator of Beginning AI for Women. So personally, you're navigating your own health journey. Told you.
That's
right? Focusing on
note.
lowering your cholesterol and your A1C, embracing a lifestyle rooted in holistic wellness. That's what I'm trying to do. It's amazing.
That's awesome. That is so you. All right, Marc, what about you?
What about you?
I'm laughing. I'm laughing because you know how sometimes chat is like, response 1 or response 2?
Ooh,
it gave you 2. It's like, Marc, you have 2. You have a split personality in this case.
What I will say is response 1 really speaks to the what I am, right? Like you say, so what do you do? What do you do? I'll say that, right? I mean, it talks about being a passionate speaker, coach, community builder, talks about it's about to go down and talks about world championship of public speaking. What I found interesting was response 2, which first starts off with, oh, wow, jumping straight to the existential crisis, are we? You didn't even buy me a coffee first. I'm like, what the hell is this? Well, your identity can mean a few different things depending on whether we're talking psychological, social, legal, or digital. But since you asked me, your reluctant and overworked silicon sidekick, I only know what you told me.
Wow, that's pretty humorous, actually.
Oh, wow. Listen, somehow I'm managing to keep a human-shaped life together. Occasionally I need help writing breakup texts and birthday party ideas. I have good taste in classical music. I don't know how the hell they found that out. And bad luck with the news. I don't even know what the hell that means. And asking charmingly loaded questions like, what is my identity? While expecting a chatbot to casually hand over a mirror to your soul. Wow. I did not know that my chat had such a comedic.
Oh, so spicy. What a spicy chat bot.
I mean, like your chat's all up in its feelings.
Yeah.
But I love while expecting a chat bot to casually hand over a mirror.
Yes.
How observant of itself.
Right?
Right? And
Yeah.
yet that's such a reminder again for me to what you said earlier, Teresa. All of this technology and advancement is pushing us to really understand who we are as humans. And I think that's so important because in my work, especially with students, but the truth is, this is even with adults. There are a lot of people who even struggle with that opening question you asked us. It's a lot of people who say, I don't really even know who I am. And I wonder how even something like AI and chat and all this technology, for those who struggle with figuring out who they are, how can this technology help us or help them to figure that out?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I saw a video the other day I wanted to share with you both. It really, when you were asking us our identity, Teresa, the first thing that my brain went to, of course, was like, if you were to put words on you, because of course we could have done it value-based where we could pick values that are really important to us. I saw this video and it kind of hit me really hard. And it said, no matter who you are, you're something different to other people. And it's not that you're different people, it's that you are a bunch of different, it didn't use the word identities, but it said you're a bunch of different things to a bunch of different people. And it doesn't mean you're trying to be there. It's just like they're like, there's one person out there in the world that you're the worst person in the world to. Something happened with that person and it didn't go well. There's a lot of people that think you're kind and compassionate. There's people that think you're aggressive and that, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh yeah, when a little bit bits of your different identities open up in certain scenarios to certain people, your different things. And really, what is an overarching identity? It would probably just be a culmination of a lot of those things. Like Marc, when you were explaining yours, you did a good job of saying in all situations, you normally take the positivity route. And I know that to be true from you, from knowing you for so long. But that's an overarching identity because there's a lot of little multiple, sub identity. Anyway, it's very fascinating to think about. It's like,
Yeah.
and that's, I guess, where the 90,000 comes from, because there's no other way.
Right? We're all so different and we have different experiences, and that creates our identity. And I think just knowing that, right, just as human beings should clue us in that we need to give grace to one another.
Mm,
You
yeah.
know, I think it's also because, and maybe not 90,000, but we're all made up of 90,000 different boxes. You know, Cathey, when you said no matter who you are different to different people.
Mhm.
I'm not just one identity. Like there were just so many facets and aspects of who I am, depending on who I'm around, depending on what the situation is. Yeah, like we're really, I love this idea that we're moving away from the single box, the singular identity, to so much more. Like our identities are expanding just as much as technology is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me, speaking of visuals, Marc, it reminds me of right before the pandemic, maybe 2018, 2019, where it was super popular that people were taking tiny little pictures and making mosaics of themselves out of the tiny
Yeah.
little pictures,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the vision when you were speaking that I have in my head is like all those little pictures make me up, right? Make up me, make me up,
Make me up
make me up.
or
That
make
sounds
up
very
me. Actually, it's kind of both. Oh, that's interesting.
Like, come on, English teacher.
right. I'm leaning on you.
Actually, they
But
both make sense.
right?
Mm.
So it's a beautiful thought. I think, right? This life is such a mosaic, right? We're not just one thing, we're a lot of things. And that's what makes us beautiful.
I
Yeah.
love that visual. I see it now. It's just this picture of Teresa. And then when you pan, it's all these little pictures of Teresa making up Teresa. I love that visual. You give me so many visuals today, Teresa.
Yeah. So many great ones.
Yeah.
Honestly, too, those things, it's interesting too how they can change and evolve constantly as well. Like thinking about how your kids might feel about you when they're teenagers. Like they might be like, oh,
Yeah.
my parents are annoying or whatever, right? They're like
Yeah.
how if you ask a therapist, they're like, oh yeah, there's like very common stages of what your kids will think of you and how that will be or how that relationship will be. Um,
Yeah.
it's also like a perception of an identity, right?
Mhm.
When you have when you have a parent that might be passing, you look back with a different fondness. You look back and go, oh,
Yeah.
those weren't annoying. That was love. Or, you look at things different, right?
Right. I think one of the greatest things that I found as my kids have gotten older, moving that relationship from being parent and child to being friends,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, with the deeper love than anybody could ever know.
Yeah. Friends, but at the
Deepest
millionth
level.
degree.
Yeah, exactly.
The ride or die times 10 billion.
Exactly. Exactly. It
Yeah.
is. That's that's been the happiest thing I think about being a parent. And I experience it with my parents, but now I tell my parents, I'm like, we're more like peers.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Mm.
Uh, you know, this may pivot, but this conversation is reminding me of my Aunt Grace. May she rest in peace. I remember she said to me many years ago, you know, as technology advances, we get wiser but weaker.
Right?
And I wonder, Teresa, as you share this idea today, what would your version of that statement be? As technology advances, we get blank.
Teresa knows all about this because when we're in Speaker Skills Academy, we play these games, right? Lefferts, have you ever?
Have you ever? Right? That's it. I would say as technology advances, we become more introspective.
Hmm.
Think about the first time you took a digital picture of yourself and put it up on a big screen and started noticing every single flaw in that picture.
Yeah, photographer, don't show me my picture on a 48-inch screen, please.
Please don't do that.
I don't need all that. I just.
But right, I think as technology advances, we become more introspective.
And if I may ask a follow-up then, what can we do as technology advances? How can we use this technology to become more introspective?
I think you need to ask yourself a good question. I don't think that there's a right question to ask, but I think that there's good questions that we should be asking of ourselves. And I think I alluded to this earlier. I said it earlier. Right now, we have so much information at our fingertips. If there are thoughts, beliefs, things that you want to explore about yourself, you can do it. Now, we've got the technology to help us to become more introspective, but we have to do it in an ethical, moral way for ourselves and for the other people in our lives, not weaponize it. And I think that we can use that technology to help us to be better people and better at who we are. And if there's an identity that you want, you can have it help you get that identity.
Beautifully put. Beautifully put. All right, Teresa. Well, then, when you think about all of the things, because you just dropped the nugget, you've just been dropping nuggets and visuals all this whole conversation. I'm wondering now, as we wrap this conversation before we continue it at another point in time, what's something that's sticking with you after this conversation? What's something you're going to be taking away with you, possibly to that red circle one day?
Not possibly. 100%.
Not even possibly.
Not
Thank
even
you
possibly.
for the correction.
Yeah.
Inevitably.
Right. Inevitably. Yep. Inevitably.
Inevitably. That's right. That's what my daily affirmations say that I create in chat.
Yeah.
Exactly. What am I going to take with me? We've talked about so many good things, and this is why technology will never, ever replace human interaction. The conversations that we had back and forth, you guys dropped some knowledge nuggets on me. You helped me think through my thoughts, and I love it. And I would probably say, try, ask, connect. I love that. Try, ask, and connect. So that will be weaved into what I thought of what we've been talking about.
I love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Uh, well, I'm going to try to ask you one more question to connect all of this together. Teresa, when people want to find out more about your area of expertise when it comes to technology, digital era, introspection, how do they find out more about Teresa, and how do they find out more about what you are an expert in?
Well, you can find me every Wednesday, every week. I get on and I talk on LinkedIn about healthcare and AI. That's my passion, right? Healthcare, AI, my passion. You can find me there speaking about it. Or you can go to my website, teresayounkin.com. And if you just want to shoot me an email, I love personal connection. So an email is always, you'll get an answer there. It is Teresa at teresayounkin.com. YOUNKIN.com. So those, and of course, you can always find me at Speaker Skills Academy.
Yes,
Always.
yes, y'all. Coaching some awesome skills drill sessions.
Yes.
Teresa,
So.
you didn't have to try today. You did it today.
Oh.
Teresa, you asked us an awesome question to get this all off, to get it to go down. And Teresa, to your point there at the end, I already felt connected to you. We already felt connected to you, but we feel even more connected to you now. Thank you. Thank you. To anybody who's watching, try to reach out to Cathey and I. Ask us how we can have a conversation with you, and let's connect. Because when we try, we ask, we connect, we step away from the summary society, and we get much more introspective about what we can bring to the table beyond technology, so that every time, each time, and any time, when you come over here with Cathey and I, you know by the end, you only got one thing to say. It went down on It's About to Go Down.